Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comic books, movies, television, video games, and more. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
For those of you joining us for the first time, how we format our show is first we bring you news, again, comic books, television, video games, movies, and then we follow up with our comic book pull list for the week.
Yeah, and for the news this week, we actually have a huge announcement coming up later on. But we're going to kick it off first with Sailor Moon on Hulu.
Yes!
We covered it last week, how it was coming, and it did debut on Monday. They actually started with 4 episodes, so it wasn't just one, and no English sub or dub that I've seen.
Yep, no, they only have the first 4 episodes in subtitles, so you do actually have to take the time to watch everything and read it. But I still thought it was hilarious.
I had never really seen Sailor Moon, so I saw all 4 episodes with you. And the whole time I'm like, so the character doesn't really grow during this? She just cries and the problem is solved? What are they teaching?
Her buns project her crying and it stops everyone.
And one of the episodes is called, like, Usagi teaches you how to get skinny. Like, this is... Gail Simone should not watch this because she will hate this.
She would be very upset.
Is it better than you remember? What's going on?
I don't think I started watching until after she had... I know she at least had Sailor Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter with her. She didn't have Sailor Venus yet when I started watching, and I remembered really liking it. And going back and watching it now, I still like it because it's funny. Because I watched it, I'm like, you're going to get nowhere in life. Because, you know, when you're younger, this is an idol. You want to be like Sailor Moon. And I'm like, I really don't want to be anything like you, but this is pretty funny.
I did like Tuxedo Mask. I thought he was hilarious. Mm-hmm. Not because when he turns into the character, like, he saves her. He saves her, but he runs away. He doesn't actually help her fight. But when he's his normal form, his human form, Darien, he's just an asshole to her. Like, when she's eating the pork buns, he's saying how she's fat and how she shouldn't eat anymore. She gets mad and throws a pork bun at him, and he says, "Oh, one less for you and your fucking face." Like, it's just, he's such a dick. And I'm like, this guy's hilarious. And at the same time, it's Tuxedo Mask, and they don't know, I guess, that one is the other.
He figures out eventually that she's Sailor Moon because he remembers that they used to be in love, like, forever ago on the moon.
It's like a reincarnation thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they are reincarnated. And then later, they actually legit not die, but in order to live, they have to have their memories wiped, so they're still themselves, but they're back on Earth, and they have to all find each other again.
So it's kind of like Justice League Unlimited with Hawkgirl and Hawkman.
No. False. Because Hawkgirl ended up with Jon Stewart, and everything was awesome. Overall, I'm so glad that they brought it back out. Can't wait to watch some more episodes, and we're going to have to rewatch the 4 when they get it dubbed.
I guess we're gonna keep up every Monday with it.
I hope so. You don't have to watch it. I'll watch it. That's fine.
That's fine with me too. We also saw Godzilla.
Yes.
Godzilla had a massive weekend opening of $93.2 million.
With these earnings, Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures will be developing another Godzilla movie. There's no details yet on the sequel or the returning cast members.
So let's go ahead and review Godzilla real quick. The human parts are boring.
Yes.
The action is great.
Yes.
And there's not enough monster fighting.
Yes.
So it's a Godzilla movie. It's perfect.
I really, really enjoyed this. I was scared the whole time. Like, oh no, what's going to happen? Godzilla was kicking ass, which made me very happy. I cried a little bit. Mm-hmm. Kind of fell in love with Godzilla. Would I run away with him? Probably.
You're like, he has kind eyes. I'm like, that big fucking monster just destroyed a shit ton of stuff.
Yeah, and he saved my life.
He didn't do anything.
If those things had hatched, man, they would have made it over here.
You don't know that.
They would have made it over here.
Here's the plot with this. Essentially, they wake up these spores of these 2 creatures.
The Mutu.
The Mutos is what they call them. And what they do is they are parasitic creatures. When they found the first spore, it was found in a creature very similar to Godzilla, but bigger. Not sure what that could be referencing. It could be Destroyer, it could be a completely different monster, or it could just be like a Godzilla relative. Whatever. But when they wake up that monster, the spore, they cultivate it because they want to learn more about it. It hatches, it runs off, and when it gives its call, because this one's actually the male, it awakens the female spore, which has been locked away by the US and Arizona in like a radioactive, like, dead zone. And when that wakes up, that's when the female comes out, and the main goal is for them to mate and continue their giant species. Well, that's when Godzilla has been listening to all these cries and everything underwater, comes up and wants to fight these things just because.
To bring balance, then.
Well, that's what Ra's al Ghul was saying. The one actor, Ra's al Ghul. I should tell that story. Basically, that actor is the same guy from Batman Begins who played like the false Ra's al Ghul in it, who got killed in the like house blowing up or whatever with the League of Assassins, League of Shadows as they call them. And he basically says that Godzilla is just there to bring balance to nature, which I thought was bullshit. Like, what a stupid excuse. Instead, why didn't they take the time to explain, like, well, these things were parasitic to creatures like Godzilla, and that's a threat to him, so he's going to put an end to that before it happens. That would have been a much more clear explanation instead of just, scientists are bad. No, they're not. They're learning a shit ton about this.
My favorite thing about this guy was he was a scientist. Like, a legitimate, probably PhD scientist. And when they ask why Godzilla's here, he's like, balance. Nature is in control. But he said my favorite line of the whole movie, so everything's fine.
What was the favorite line?
Godzilla. That's all I wanted out of this whole movie, and I got it, and it was exciting.
And it was there. Mm-hmm. You have a certain suspension of disbelief when watching this. Like, one, Godzilla, what the explanation for these things are, is that as the air got thinner and oxygen got thinner, they kept going underwater more and more and continued to evolve while they were down there. Okay, cool, that makes sense. But then when Godzilla comes up onto the surface, it's like your eyes wouldn't really be developed enough, Godzilla, to run around and just be able to see everything and fight these monsters.
Do what he wants.
But like I said, it's one of those things, it's a Godzilla movie. Monsters are coming up from the ocean and they're going to fight one another. That's all I wanted to see. That's what I got. Bryan Cranston's in it for like a fourth of the movie. There's references to Mothra. There's references to King Ghidorah.
Yes.
Or Monster Zero, whatever you want to call him. It's all there. The action was great. I thought the CGI on Godzilla was awesome. Mm-hmm. The two Muto monsters I didn't care for, like their design. They were too machine looking with their eyes lighting up.
You know what they reminded me of? That Pokemon from...
So, Manectric.
Yes.
I guess it reminded me of him a little bit. Maybe the Mega Form.
He has a Mega Form?
Yeah, he does. Oh. He's just a giant lightning bolt with like a face on it. That's all it is.
That's horrible.
But the monsters reminded me of Dead Space, a little bit of Starship Troopers, and the Cloverfield monster, most of anything. Like, it looked exactly like it. I thought they looked cool the one looked cool when he flew around. That was pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Could have called it Rodan, wouldn't have mattered. But the fight between them and Godzilla, it was really good. Like, people are saying that's not enough of it, but there was tons.
When Godzilla took the last one out, holy shit!
That was badass. So if you want to see a Godzilla movie, it's here. Like, go back on Netflix, pull up Godzilla, look at those old movies. They're shitty. Like, if you actually look at them, they're not very good. But you saw them as a kid because you just wanted to see some monsters fight. Even if it was like recycled footage from a movie you've already seen, and their budget was shitty, so they just put it in there. It's in there. And for this one, it's high budget. The fight scenes are great. Godzilla looks great. He sounds perfect. It's the Godzilla roar, but updated. And the Mutos were there.
There is going to be a lot of things where you go, really, guys? Like the dog.
Yeah.
Really, guys? I had so many moments in this movie where I was just like, really?
There's always that dog that's in danger, and I guess because most people are dog owners, you have to show the dog getting saved. It's like, I don't give a shit. Like, just give me a panning shot of the city and everyone running. I don't need this focus shot of this dog that's on a leash that breaks loose and runs past the humans.
You know what? We need that dog. Dan,
no, we do not.
That was the best part of the movie.
We haven't seen that dog since Independence Day when he ran from the explosion. Do you remember? And ran into the alleyway.
Yes. That little kid he saves on the train, was he dressed like that little kid who was in the old movies?
I don't know. Like, he reminded me more of like the Indiana Jones kid.
Oh yeah, he did look a lot like that kid too. I just thought of Impractical Jokers when he showed up.
That's terrible. But for the Godzilla movie, since it is getting a sequel, which monster do you want to see tackled in the new one? Monster Zero?
Yes.
I think with this big reference of Mothra, I think Mothra will return.
Probably, but then little girls will have to sing them awake.
Maybe, maybe not, because when they interviewed one of the screenwriters or the director about making the sequel, he said that they want the Godzilla 2 to be like the Dark Knight of the series, where they don't just take an old villain and put him up there. They want to reinvent the villain or the character so that it is something different from the classic one, so that it grows past what the old movies did. And with Godzilla, it won't be very difficult to do.
Mothra Zero.
Mothra Zero.
We'll give it 3 heads. And it can sound and look just like Monster Zero, but we'll call it Mothra.
There were also a bunch of times in the movie when I kept like whispering to you where they could have actually put the Justice League in the movie. Yes. Legitimately, they could have.
You can find that in any movie, though. Argo.
Even better in this, because like at one point they're like, oh, we have to call the president. What if they just said, we need to get the League together to stop these monsters? Or there's another scene in which they're in Vegas and all the lights go out. You could have easily had like one cocktail waitress cut to like a man, a shot of him from behind. You don't really see. Here's your martini, Mr. Wayne. And he churns, and it's like, oh shit, Bruce Wayne's in Vegas, and he saw this shit, and he just backlayers the televisions because he sees the monsters coming. Later on in the movie, he's in the Batcave, doing his Batman things, tracking the monsters, and he just says, they're coming towards Gotham. And it's just, oh shit, like, now Batman's gonna be in here in the Justice League, and they're gonna help fight Godzilla and the rest of the monsters. Like, you know, Batman would just grapple onto Godzilla, like, take some DNA, run back to the Batcave, figure out how old this thing is. It would have worked, especially when you see the Warner Brothers logo on the thing. I'm like, we're either seeing Harry Potter or Batman. Yeah, it was Godzilla, so Batman should be in it.
I just have this image of you laying on your stomach on the floor with your Godzilla toy in one hand and your Batman toy in the other, and they're fighting.
Yeah.
That would have been your perfect movie, wouldn't it?
It would have been perfect. So I'd say go check it out. Mm-hmm. If you want to see a Godzilla movie, it's there. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it a lot also. But speaking of Batman in movies, they have announced the official title for what we thought was Superman vs. Batman. It is actually Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, or Dawn of Clark's Love. I think that's a better title.
Or Superman Loves Batman, which is what we're also calling it.
Of course. It will release on May 6th, 2016.
So we finally have a title. This is what a lot of people wanted. And of course, people are not happy somehow. One of the things I've seen, first my opinion on this, it says Batman, it says Superman, marketable, done.
Tickets sold.
It could have said whatever. It says Batman and Superman in the title. It's for the mass market. This isn't for, someone online said they should have called it World's Finest. And I said, World's Finest? That's not a good idea. Like,
no.
You are not a market person. You would not ever name something World's Finest and not put Batman or Superman in that title. Mm-hmm. You're an idiot. You want to put Batman vs. Superman, even if it's Superman Loves Batman, put those two words somewhere in the title and people will come and watch it. In this case, it says Batman v Superman. The V represents and, the V represents versus. It's a number of things. And then the fact that it's Dawn of Justice, that right there is for the fanboys to say, like, look, it's a prequel to the Justice League. Dawn of Justice. It's there. They could have done without the subtitle, fine. At the end of the day, the core title says Batman versus Superman. Mm-hmm. Marketable. Like, it's not for people like us. I still don't even see what you can actually say that's bad about the title.
I've heard people say, like, Dawn of Justice is cheesy. Kind of like, yeah, we get it. They're leading up to the Justice League. You don't have to put that in there. But I think it's great. Like, this got me excited. Because before, we knew Wonder Woman was going to be in there. They cast Cyborg recently, but we didn't know how big their roles would be. Maybe it's just a brief cameo and, you know, they're teasing us. But now it feels like we're actually, at least by the end, going to see something of a team between all these characters.
Exactly. And I do want to share some comments. Dan from Facebook said, I laugh because in fanboy eyes, DC can't win. If they, quote, rush ahead with the Justice League movie as planned, they are stupid for not following the Marvel way. And if they introduce characters in individual movies, they are then copying Marvel. Yikes. That being said, I like the title, and Batman First sounds better, as he will probably be the instigator in the movie, even if Supes gets more screen time.
I agree with that statement.
Nothing but reason. Like, that's all that is.
And our next quote is from Riggs from Facebook. I fear, much like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the word justice will be used more times than a $2 whore.
As long as they do it in a trailer thing, like in the new Godzilla when he said Godzilla and then it held on him.
You didn't say it right.
A number of people said it.
Say it right, Danny.
Gojira.
Thank you.
Like here, you know, they'll say justice or something that they can just use for the trailer and you're like, yeah! Right there in the theater. You cheered when he said Gojira.
Yeah, like every time he said it, and there was like 4.
Mm-hmm. And every time he like paused before and after.
And he did that little squint. Oh, it was great.
We must track Gojira and his movements.
Yes!
So, important thing, we have the title. It says Batman and Superman on it. Done. Move on. We got the DC Solicitations released for August 2014. This includes the comics and the statues, a lot of the trades. This is going to be what's going to be in the previews catalog coming up this week, I believe. So we went ahead and outlined some of the things that we really enjoyed from this lineup. Some interesting stuff. The first one being that, there's going to be a ton of cancellations, including Birds of Prey and All-Star Western, also Batwing.
Anything we're reading?
Well, those last two are written by Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray. The reason I mention that is because Harley Quinn will release twice in August with number 9 and number 10. So either Harley Quinn will be a bi-weekly title, kind of like Superior Spider-Man was, which sort of makes sense because, one, it sells, two, Jimmy and Amanda have a little bit more time now without Batwing and All-Star Western. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if it's just for August, but, they're obviously pushing Harley Quinn, especially with that San Diego Comic-Con issue.
As much as I love this comic, I really hope that it's just in August. Because we don't have the money to pick up this stuff. We're only following one weekly, but this week alone, and you guys will see when we get to comics, there were like 1 million comics that came out.
Yeah.
And to try and put another one where we have to get it twice a month.
Mm-hmm. It better be good, too.
Yeah. We also saw a great cover for Sinestro number 5. You had some lovely commentary about what's going on here.
So basically the picture, and if you want to check it out for yourself, go to newsarama.com and click on DC Comics Full August Solicitations. But it shows Parallax holding 2 unconscious bodies, one of which is Hal Jordan as Green Lantern and the other is Sinestro. And they're both just being carried away. And I was just joking like, yes, Parallax, drop him off in my bedroom. Who, Hal? No, Sinestro. Just drop him off here.
It looks great, though. I am really excited to read that book when it comes out.
Yeah, especially after we read number 2, and we'll cover that and review it later. Mm-hmm. Batman Beyond Universe number 13. Amazing cover because it has the Phantasm on
Woohoo!
it. This would mark the 3rd appearance of the Phantasm in, I guess, anything, really. I mean, if you don't count the animated series comic book tie-in movie thing that released, I guess this would be like the 4th appearance. Mm-hmm. But it's essentially it's Phantasm Beyond. And someone said, well, how does that make sense? How's she still alive? If you watched Epilogue in the Justice League, she was hired by Amanda Waller to kill Terry's parents to recreate the Batman thing. At the end of it, she couldn't go through with it because she said Batman isn't something that you just created. It's something that Gotham breeds and something that happens. And it was kind of an immoral thing to do, even for an assassin like the Phantasm. As the episode shows, Terry's dad ended up dying anyway. Tragedy was still in Terry's life, who is Bruce's clone/son, as they put it. And for the Phantasm, here's the one thing, though, is now Terry is much older, and the Phantasm looks like is still alive. So either, she's using the same type of technology or medical advancements that Bruce is using to keep himself alive. I know this future is way...
I think she's just still alive. Why not? Give him another lady to stick it into in his old age and enjoy himself a little bit longer.
Mainly, I want to read this for the interaction between Bruce, because he never really talked to her again after she disappeared in Mask of the Phantasm. And they still really loved one another. And as much as you and I would hate to admit it with, me being a fan of Batman Talia, you, Catwoman, and Batman, the animated series Batman truly loved...
Andrea,
yeah.
I agree with that. I would love to see them rekindle something. I don't think it's going to last, especially this late in life. Bruce has Catwoman now, so...
No.
I'm pretty sure he has Catwoman now. I'm pretty sure Talia's
not the
dead.
case.
No, she was taken over by Ra's, remember? They can't be together.
Well,
I'm pretty sure, but Selina's still around to
anyway,
heal
the
wounds,
Phantasm is coming back.
She'd probably let him still stick it in there and then still be with him for later.
The animated series, though.
They'd be in love.
We're moving on to that.
It's nice.
The Batman Beyond, or the Batman the Animated Series action figures were solicited. They're $24.95 a piece. Before they showed the designs and the very early concepts for the action figures, but now we actually saw some final Batman, Catwoman, Mr. Freeze, and Two-Face.
I don't see a Talia in there, so...
That'll be a Series 2 thing.
Must be in love with Batman.
They'll release on November 2014.
Let's buy them all twice. $200? Who cares?
Yeah, we're gonna buy each one. The downside, I guess, is the Mr. Freeze and Two-Face figures are the Season 4 designs of the animated series. I think it's called the New Batman Adventures. We didn't like those as much as those Season 1 through 3. But, we're getting animated series figures, so we can't really complain that much. $24.95, that's about what they're charging now for the DC Direct Greg Capullo ones, for example. And they're very high articulation on these. Like, this is going to be the best animated series figures we're going to have to date. Possibly ever. Like, as soon as my generation dies off, like, who's really going to be talking or demanding animated series stuff?
Well, the great thing about these, too, is it's giving us, like you always say, you vote with your money. It's giving us the opportunity to show them, we really like this stuff, we need more of it. Like all those shirts that came out that you bought, and we're going to have to buy some more because now they're on sale.
Buy one, get one half off.
Exactly. So stuff like this is great because now we do have the money to be able to say, yes, this is what's going to make you guys money. We couldn't pay for it back then because we were like 5, but now we can.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully this means, I'm still going to keep saying it and wishing for it until the rest of my life, another season of Batman the Animated Series done by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. Just do it.
They can't though, Dan.
Because Dini's a Marvel boy, but he's only got a year left on his contract.
Alfred.
They'll continue to do it with or without Alfred because we need to love what's left and just make something of it. Like bring whatever old crew is left and just make it work somehow.
Oh, so Batman can be in love with Catwoman in it, like the way you think.
There's also a Superman, the Man of Steel Superman statue based on Bruce Timm's Superman the Animated Series design coming up. It is going to be $79.95, limited to 5,200.
This one is also coming out in November, so that will be a very expensive month for us.
Initially, I'm like, we're going to fucking have to get this, but in thinking about it now, we have, at the comic book shop I work at, we have some Superman statues that are in the same line, and it's kind of a metallic blue and a metallic red. It doesn't look too great. The coloring is kind of shitty. Like, even though it's Bruce Timm's design, I think I might actually end up passing on it.
We'll see when it comes out. You'll change your mind.
Yeah, we'll see.
And finally, Batman Arkham Knight gameplay trailer was released this week.
Before this, we only saw the cinematics to Arkham Knight, which looked amazing. Now we actually see how you get off the Batmobile and get back on it, just like by the press of a button. You go through the Gotham City as fast as you can. People move out of the way so you can't actually kill them, which is fine because you're Batman, you don't kill. But you go through tunnels, you can spin around in the tunnels.
Okay.
It's pretty awesome. And my brother was like, he saw the trailer, he said, and Batman does a Mario Kart move, because in the new Mario Kart game, you can like race on the walls or race on the ceiling. And I'm like, you mean Mario Kart made a Batman move? Because that's what Batman would do.
I'm pretty sure Batman would not try to drive upside down on a ceiling.
He does it in the Michael Keaton Batman movie, Batman Returns. When there's that penguin that's about to shoot him with the rocket launcher, and instead of running over the penguins, he
but that's
goes upside down on it.
Silly. You can't really do that. You can't really do that.
If you go fast enough, you can.
That's silly.
It's science.
Dan. Okay, sure.
And it's Batman.
A heavy-ass Batmobile.
Bat science.
Can drive upside down.
It can.
I'm pretty sure animated series Batman wouldn't do that.
Well, that thing wouldn't even exist in any form. Like, it's impossible.
One thing I would like to point out about this trailer, though, is originally they gave a date. I don't remember what it was.
They just said 2014. Most likely October is what we were thinking, because that's when the last Batman game was released.
Mm-hmm. Now, after this trailer, it just said coming soon. So does that mean it's going to get pushed back?
It could be.
Probably.
Tara Strong on Twitter and Kevin Conroy are saying that they're actually still doing some voiceover work. We're at the end of May, coming up on June. So if it were to release in October for the holiday season, July. So you got June, July, August, September, October. About 5 months left, and they're still doing some recording, still working on the game. I would not be opposed to them delaying it till next year if it means it's going to be a better gaming experience. Mm-hmm. But I just thought that was interesting that it did say coming soon instead of 2014 or fall 2014. Also, the Arkham Knight, they gave him a voice.
Yes. And that was the first time I had seen him. Have they showed him before?
They showed him in screenshots, but not in like a cinematic way.
Okay. I thought he was cool. Kind of sounds like Bane, though.
By that, she means he sounds Hispanic. Yeah, it's true. It could be that he's somehow tied into Bane and the same type of thing that Bane went through, or it just could be that he just has a fucking accent, and that's it.
What would you do if he was the sewer king?
Best sewer king ever. Like, they somehow made him awesome.
He's got to have his crocodiles following him around, though, so he can break their jaws.
Yep. Final thing we want to touch up on before we jump into comics is nerdupmedia.com. We said we'd have a big announcement this week, and we do. If you follow us on Twitter at ReasonsI'mBroke, you already know about this. Essentially, we created a network of not only podcasts, but also like Let's Plays and blogs. We can go on there, nerdupmedia.com, and you can find us as well as other great shows such as The Read Pile, Lazy Gaming Guys, Bacon in the Oven, and Those Two Jerks. You click on any one of those, and there's actually links for every single location where you can find their entertainment or the shows. And they range from all those things. Also, like us, comics, movies, TV. It depends on what you're clicking on. For example, Lazy Gaming Guys, they have Let's Plays that they do, and I've been following them for a while. What we did is we essentially contacted all these different podcasters, and we all kind of got together and created this Nerd Up Media Network. So again, the Lazy Gaming Guys, they play a ton of video games, and every week they post at least 2 videos of them playing like Sonic or Mario or whatever, and it's very entertaining. I think it's great, and it's just waiting to pop. It's a great show, and thankfully they're a part of the Nerd Up Media Network now. Another one is the Read Pile. If you see us on Twitter, we're always interacting with one another. The Read Pile does video commentary, video comic book reviews. And it's also really hilarious because they're great with their interactions with Twitter, with the different creators, with their fans. And again, they're also part of nerdupmedia.com.
So if you guys head over to nerdupmedia.com, you can check out all of our brother and sister shows. They're all great. They're a lot of fun. And you can find other things that we don't necessarily cover that they would.
As far as a crossover thing, that's still in the making. Like, we're still talking to a lot of people. We're talking to sponsors as well. So a lot of really exciting stuff happening. Just stay tuned, keep following, follow us all, and check them all out too.
Before we move into comics, I did want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Kenny, who actually saw that my Michelangelo keychain, we've talked about, I got the Lego Michelangelo, was a little beat up and actually went out and purchased me one the other day. So thank you so much. That meant a lot to me. I just got to get it sprayed with a protector, and you got to glue on his little hands again because one of his hands popped off. But thank you so much for that. It really meant a lot to me.
Yeah, there's no way we don't have the nicest listeners. They're constantly gifting us things, and we try to return the favor. So thank you very much, Brokettes, and all the listeners out there.
And now we can move into our comics. Like we said earlier in the show, this was a huge week. So try and hang in there with us, guys. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to jump in with our indie books first. We have Adventure Time number 28. This one's written by Ryan North with art by Jim Rugg, Mike Holmes, and Kyla Vanderkant.
If you remember last month, they are ghosts again.
Mm-hmm. Running around causing havoc.
And in the land of Ooh, they actually released a ton of ghosts all over the kingdom. And there's really no way for them to communicate with Princess Bubblegum to let them know that you can't really stop them. You shouldn't turn the rest of the land of Ooh into ghosts because they're not going to do anything.
I love how that's her plan. Like, well, I'll just turn everybody into ghosts.
Yeah.
So you're going to kill them all.
Right. So here it's just Finn and Jake trying to communicate with them, and they can't. And there's just ghosts running around everywhere. They're being jerks.
Yep, it wasn't as strong as, I want to say, the last one or the one before in this arc. A filler. But we have a new character introduced. It was Anti-Ghost Princess, who was actually Warrior Princess, who died and turned into a ghost, but now she's not a ghost anymore.
Right.
So I think the answer is going to be to find out how she got unturned from a ghost, and that's what's going to have to happen to everybody.
Next book is the final one in the arc. It's Rocket Girl number 5, written by Brandon Montclair with art by Amy Reeder.
I liked this one a lot.
See, I felt a little bit of the opposite. I was really lost reading this. Like, I know the last one came out a little while ago, but I couldn't remember, and there was no summary at the beginning. I think it was 3 months ago that number 4 came out.
Really? That long?
It was a while ago, yeah. 3 or 2 months. And for this one, yeah, I was a little lost. Like, what happened? So she came back to the present?
No, she's still in the past. But she calls the future her past because that's obviously her past. Mm-hmm. Her future is where she is now. So you have the bigwigs, who she thought she was going back to stop the bigwigs. The bigwigs actually sent her back to proceed with their plan. She has to be in 86 for all the stuff in 2013 to happen.
Okay.
So that's why she's there. Her friend in 86 thought she was helping her out by blowing up the machine. But because the guy in the future knew that was going to happen, obviously that's what was supposed to happen. And in the end, she just decides to stay in 86.
And I guess that's where the comic is going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
we're still going to pick them up. I don't know. I just felt like it was a really weak ending for me, but you obviously felt differently.
I just follow things differently than you, Dan. Like Bravest Warriors.
I like Bravest Warriors, yep.
But I have to explain it to you every time.
It wasn't my pass of the week for Rocket Girl.
Mine either.
And I do look forward to number 6, especially this new arc where she is in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Next, we have a long-awaited book, Saga number 19, written by Brian K. Vaughan with art by Fiona Staples. They gotta stop going on these 6 months pauses, man. Because I don't like it.
Well, before you were like happy about it. You're like, yeah, the trades. That's actually how we caught up. Because they went on the pause, we read the trade, and then we started picking up the single issues.
Well, I don't like it anymore. I've changed my mind.
Now that you're a part of it and you read it every month, now it's a problem.
This shit needs to come out like every week. I would read this as a weekly.
The nice thing about it, though, is when they do take a break, they break at the end of an arc. So for this one, it's beginning a little bit in the future. I think a year or two.
Not quite 2. It's probably about a year in the future.
Hazel's a little bit older, and it looks like there's going to be some problems between our 2 main characters.
I know! They just kind of dropped that bomb on me at the end.
They dropped the bomb on me on that first page when you just see this baby being born. Like this baby crowning, and I'm like, holy shit. Like,
I didn't know what it was. I'm like, well, this is kind of weird. And then I flipped the page, and I'm like, oh shit, that's what it was. Nasty.
Was this your... Yeah, go ahead.
But, no, the baby you were talking about, that is Robot Prince's baby is finally born. And so that's going to cause drama, too, because if you remember the last one, I'm pretty sure Robot Prince died. Or he was just watching porn on his face again. I don't really remember.
Right.
So that's going to cause some issues, because his wife still thinks he's alive. There's an alligator nursemaid in there.
Yeah, it's just part of the Saga universe.
Good for that alligator. You have... Alana is now working in a play somewhere, which was pretty cool because she starts yelling at the audience and almost got fired. Marco has blonde hair now. Yeah,
his shitty disguise. Like, one thing about this book is she was yelling at him for, like, taking Hazel out, and I was like, yeah, you should fucking yell at this guy. Like, he's... Like, they're wanted criminals, and he's taking Hazel out to play. It's like...
They need to give her a normal life, Dan.
But he's risking... Them having any kind of life at all by being out there.
But like, they're on a neutral planet. There's no signs for them anywhere.
He's being a giant baby is what he's being.
You know what? They want to give Hazel a normal life.
Well, let's see how that turns out, because at the end of this issue, obviously it doesn't turn out well.
We don't know that yet. We don't know why.
I'm going to blame Marco.
They'll probably end up back together.
Was this your pick of the week?
This was my pick of the week.
Not a surprise there.
You know what? You know what? This... book, you should tell me, in the 19 issues, has there ever been an issue where you went, eh?
Not really.
Or even when it was close to your pass of the week?
No. But
exactly.
Neither is Batman, neither is Batman and Robin.
You know, Dan, but this is an original work, and they sucked you in the first issue.
Yeah, it was good.
And they randomly throw penises in there and make Apple angry. And you saw a birthing baby today. You learned new things.
I did not learn new things. I did learn that a robot can somehow come out of a vagina.
A robot vagina.
Yeah, it was like a robot vagina.
Did you notice they had robot cows?
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they had like TV screen cows. What do they watch on their TV faces?
Grass grow? I don't know. It's what they eat.
You had the robot janitor who was watching like soap operas on his face while he was mopping the floor. It's pretty cool. It's a good book. Go read this book.
I did not say it was bad. I just said it wasn't a surprise. Should
have been your pick of the week too.
Not my pick of the week.
Should have been your pick. Everyone, this is Dan's pick of the week.
No. Next is Simpsons Summer Shindig number 8, written by Mark Barr, Max Davison, and David Seidman, with art by Rex Lindsay, James Lloyd, and Mike Cazalet. We don't pick up the Simpsons book often. We usually do the Treehouse of Horrors, Summer Shindig, Winter Windig, and also any like one-shots, like the Radioactive Man one-shot, which was amazing. This one was awesome too. It's number 8, comes out every year, and the first story in it's Homer and the rest of the crew trying to run a pool after Mayor Quimby's like fundraisers ruined by Homer doing a cannonball on a nearby pool and just drowning everyone. That was really funny. The second story is about Bart and everyone knowing he's Bartman and how that's not necessarily a good thing, even though initially it was.
You get some Arnold Schwarzenegger in there. He's not really Arnold Schwarzenegger.
McBain.
Yes, McBain. And he's working in a regular office, I guess, and everything that happens, he blames one of his arch villains.
And then it turns out that, like, no, I was just trying to put nutmeg in your coffee, and he was Like he scalds the person and nearly kills them, trying to say, what was it, cyanide?
And then in the end, it turns out that they were all behind it.
Yeah, like it's really funny. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed the book at the $4.99 price point. Even I would say recommend. I would say pick it up. Like I thought all the stories were really funny.
I would not have picked it up for the $4.99 price point. There were some funny things in it, but I think I only really laughed once or twice. The rest of the time I was just like, eh. But following Radioactive Man, which was so good, I think I just expected more out of this one. Now we can move on into our DC books. We have Batman Beyond Universe number 10. This is written by Kyle Higgins and Christos Gage, with art by Tony Silas and Trevor McCarthy.
Yeah, the start of our massive DC list.
Yes.
If you follow us on Twitter or Instagram, you saw a picture of all those fucking books. It's a lot.
And they were all amazing. Most of them were amazing.
There were some stinkers in there. Batman Beyond Universe. This continues the Justice Lord's storyline, and we learn way more about the relationship between Wonder Woman and Batman.
Amazing!
And they really like feed this animated future that they've continued to build, and especially Kyle Higgins. Like I love the story that he's telling, especially with Terry and when he's interacting with Justice Lord's Terry, in which he tells him like, I always figured that if I didn't have Batman, that I would still be a good kid even with my dad gone. And in this, like, Justice Lord's alternate timeline or whatever, he doesn't become Batman. He becomes a part of the Joker gang. And, he's telling him, I guess I was wrong. I turned up to be an asshole without Batman. And I was like, yeah, that's right. You tell fucking
Blonde
other
Terry.
Batfake. Yeah.
Terry and Blonde Terry. It's Batfake and Batfake.
Mm-hmm. Super Batfake, yeah.
Super Batfake. There you go. I thought this was a great story, though. I love the interaction with Terry and Terry. I love seeing Grayson's in there. With Barbara, who turned out to be Nightwing in this universe.
I guess so, yeah.
There was a Nightwing costume with boobs. Maybe Grayson's not telling us something. I don't know.
This is when Terry gets into the Batcave for the Justice Lord's Beyond universe, and he sees a bunch of costumes up on display, and one of them is a female Nightwing costume, which would be interesting if it was Babs, actually, not a Batgirl, because we don't see a Batgirl in there, but we do see a Nightwing outfit.
I think the Justice Lord Batman Beyond costume was really cool, too. It was really dark and, much darker than you see in regular universe. And I was like, oh shit, I'm scared, and I'm just reading it.
Yeah, for example, like the emblem on him, instead of red, it's silver. It is a cool alternate, I'll admit. And I'm glad that Terry has some costume in this future, this Justice Lord's universe.
We also get to see, it kind of jumps around a little bit. We get to see the Justice League fighting the Justice Lords who have just run into our regular universe, and they get their asses kicked, unfortunately. We get to see Justice Lord Superman, who's like, oh, Batman's over there? Better go back.
And when he gets there, he's probably like, wait a minute, you're not Batman, you're Batfake.
Man. So, really cool. I am in love with this story. Almost my pick of the week if it wasn't for Saga.
Oh, wow. You really liked it. Next is Batman and Frankenstein, number 31. It's part of the Batman and Robin comic book. It's written by Peter J. Tomasi with art by Doug Mahnke and Christian Alamy. Doug Mahnke, if you remember, he did the Green Lantern series up until the very end of Jeff Johns' run. He did a really good Sinestro when he drew him, and he guest starred as the writer for this Batman and Robin series. For this issue, I should say. So we should have Pat Gleason back next month for Batman and Ra's al Ghul.
I thought this was a pretty good one.
I loved it.
I liked the development that we saw in Batman. From the, one of the first people he interacted with was Frankenstein, and now we're back full circle and seeing the changes that he's made.
When he first ran into Frankenstein, he knocked out Frankenstein and then cut him up into pieces to study what was keeping him alive, because he wanted to bring back Damien. I think that was part of the denial phase or the anger phase. And in this one, Frankenstein is pissed off at Batman, and rightfully so, because he just left him there. And I guess he was saying that Red Robin took hours to stitch him back
29
together.
29 hours straight to stitch him back together.
So he's pissed off, but he tells Batman, look, Frankenstein's still a good guy. He says, I just want an apology. And he gives it to him. And they team up to try to stop Ra's al Ghul from resurrecting. I should tell that story. I'm just going to tell that story.
Tell that story.
So I think it was about last week or a week and a half, where a regular customer came into the comic book shop. He was talking about the Damien Son of Batman movie. And, we were talking about it, and he's explaining to me, even though I'd seen it, what was going on. And he's like, because Damien is is torn up between two households. You have Batman and Tyla, and that I laughed at. Like, I was like, that's kind of funny. And he says, and Raul Al Ghul. That's when I lost it. Because I just imagined, like, a Spaniard.
Raul.
Al Ghul. Raul Al Ghul. And one of our Twitter followers, at Dark Knight Drew, said, the demon's head by night, gardener by day. Raul Al Ghul.
Yes, so take care of your roses.
So at the end, that's a story behind Raul Al Ghul.
Can somebody draw this comic for us? I'll write it.
Raul, he's got to have a rose in his mouth at all times.
Yes, he's got to have the red billowy shirt. Mm-hmm. And the very tight black pants.
And then the mustache, very thin pencil mustache.
And the little boots. They always wear little boots.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to have the little ties.
On it. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That'd be great.
Would be good. We'd read it. We'd fund it. So by the end of it, you do see that Ra's al Ghul he resurrected someone, supposedly. We don't know who. I'm thinking it's going to be Talia.
Tyla, yep.
And then later on, we'll deal with Damian in December, I guess.
I think Damian won't be resurrected at this point. I think Batman's going to get the chance to lay him to rest and put closure on that, because for me, that's the perfect ending to what he's had to go through for all of this. He's come to the point where he's ready to put him to rest, and I think they'll allow him to do that.
Even though we want to see Damian come back. Not my pick of the week, but it was really good.
Next, we have Batman Superman number 11, written by Greg Pak, with art by Carl Kerschel, Tom Derenick, and Daniel Sampere. This was Superman's dream?
Superman fan fiction?
Yes. Superman Loves Batman fan fiction, written by Superman, about the lengths that Batman would go to save his life.
Let me know when we should play the Superman Loves Batman theme song.
Just through the whole thing.
I'm not going to do that.
Leave it on loop in the background, because that's what this book is.
This was Superman Doomed Chapter 3. So they did that thing where they cross over. Like, if you want to read Superman Doomed, you got to buy Batman Superman. You got to buy Action Comics. You got to buy Supergirl.
Boring.
It sucks. Like, I hate when they do that, but we're not following Superman Doomed, so we were just kind of thrown into this. But as a couple of readers that aren't following that and don't really know what's going on with Superman and Doomed, I thought it did a good job in explaining and catching us up to speed with, okay, Superman is sick, he's infected with something that's causing him to churn into Doom, I guess. Or, I'm sorry, into Doomsday. And here it's Batman and Wonder Woman trying to stop him, because if that happens, Doomsday will have the power of a Kryptonian as well on top of his Doomsday self. So it's something that they should stop. But throughout it, you are following Batman and his inner thoughts.
Go ahead and play the theme song before I get into his thoughts.
I can lift you up. I can show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be. You could be my luck. Even if the sky is falling down, I know that we'll be safe and sound. We're safe and sound.
So, like you said, we're following Batman's little thoughts, which are written by Superman, I'm sure, because they're things like, Clark, I can just imagine you here with your little smile on your face. Or, and then I think, what would you do? Because you always know the right way. Like, little shit like that. And I'm like, really, Superman?
And then Batman says this. No, he doesn't, Superman. He does not say that.
Fan fiction.
It is bat fiction. That's what that is.
Horrible, horrible 15-year-old fan fiction. But there is an entire book of this.
Right.
Pretty much alluding that Superman's so smart for leading them here, and Superman's the better of them all, and making it seem like Batman just can't live without Superman, and that Diana can't live without Superman either. Let's throw that in there.
Right.
He just wants this love triangle for him.
So that was hilarious. Like, if anything, we enjoyed this book because Superman loves Batman, so
Yeah.
it makes it that much more enjoyable. But if you're not reading Superman Doomed, pass on it.
Agreed.
But still not my pass of the week. There's
Nope,
a
not my
book worse
pass.
than that. Next we have Forever Evil number 7 of 7. Late but here.
Finally.
Written by Jeff Johns with art by David Finch and Richard Friend.
So awesome.
Badass book. I love this. I love this because Luthor's in it. I love it because Luthor loses something. I love it because Luthor is a hero. And there's Batman moments and there's Sinestro moments. Everything is in here. And it finally wraps up.
Mm-hmm. I think it wraps up very nicely, too. Like you said, Luthor was a total badass. I was not expecting the change in him that we saw, which I really, really liked.
Right.
And you get to see more of it in another comic that we'll talk about in just a little bit.
But at the very beginning, we ended the last issue with Lex Luthor killing Nightwing, and Batman getting all angry and emotional and starting to beat him up. And Luthor has to electrocute him and say, "No, you idiot. Like, look, this is what I'm going to do and save him." This was all just to disable the bomb, which we have said. So it's like, Batman, calm your tits.
Yeah. But then what did Catwoman say? She walks up to Luthor and she's like, "Were you really going to do that before Batman lost it?" And he was like, eh.
He's like, it doesn't matter.
Like, you weren't going to save him. You just wanted him dead.
Right.
Then Batman lost his mind and you're like, oh shit, I want him to like me.
Yeah, that's why he wants to join the League, really. No.
Who doesn't want to join the League for Batman? Please,
Right.
Dan.
But here, Alexander Luthor, who we saw was the big reveal for the hooded figure, is actually the father of Superwoman's kid.
Yeah, baby daddy.
Because in their universe, it's a very strong sense of Darwinism. So she went with the stronger of the two, which ended up being Alexander Luthor. He's kind of like...
A Mazo.
Exactly. He's kind of like a Mazo, in which he actually absorbs superhuman powers as soon as he kills them, or as soon as he, like, you know, gets his hands in them, or whatever.
He has to kill them, and then once he kills them, he gains the ability to harness their powers. So at this point, he's killed their Black Adam. He's killed...
Their Flash.
Johnny Quick,
yeah.
Johnny Flash, Johnny Superfast, something. He killed one other person. I don't remember. But he killed another one of their guys. And, you know, at this point, it kind of seems like he's unstoppable.
Especially against everyone else. He ends up killing their Fire Death, or Deathstorm.
Yes, that's who. Doom.
Deathstorm, I think it was.
Yes.
And then, while they're releasing the rest of the Justice League and trying to figure out how they can get him out of Firestorm, because that's where they're all trapped, he's having this fight with Ultraman, and he's kicking the shit out of Ultraman because he can absorb all these powers. But at the same time, Luthor is saying, okay, he's just their Shazam, so if we can get the Shazam lightning bolt to hit him, he'll turn back into a man and then leave him to me because I'm going to fucking punish him. And not to give away the rest of the plot, but essentially Luthor is smarter than this Alexander Luthor, and he ends up defeating him, but not without a loss, because here we do have the death of Bizarro, or B-Zero.
So sad.
In, I think, issue number 5, there was this connection between Luthor and Bizarro, and that's where you kind of see that not only is Luthor human, but there are some things that he does actually like, and he can be connected with. And when Bizarro does end up getting killed by Alexander Luthor, Luthor just yells like, "He was my monster. I don't care if he was a monster, he was mine, he was my creation." It fits the ego, it fits the story that they set up. It was wonderful. And at the very end, when he initiates that program again to replicate Superman, because that was the product of Bizarro, they said, okay, it'll be this many weeks before it's actually a perfect
years.
Superman clone.
They would have a Superman clone in 10 years. And he goes, I don't want a Superman clone. I want Bizarro back. And they said then 5 years.
Exactly how he was, yeah.
And now we wait.
And I thought that was wonderful, because he just wants his friend back. And it was great. And only Jeff Johns can do stuff like this, where you just like care for the villain so much.
Right.
Almost to the point with Sinestro. And even Sinestro in this, he's got some great moments. Like he helps weaken Ultraman by pushing the moon away from the sun, so that we
because it's possible. But okay.
Well, you know, if Sinestro does it. And then he kind of leaves like, well, I'm done here. I really have no reason to stay. And
he flies away laughing.
And he leaves.
That was the funniest part for me, because all these villains, everyone realized, okay, you helped save the world, we're gonna give you a pardon. We pardon you.
Right.
And as soon as they say that, you just see Sinestro and Shazam or Black Adam fly away with all these little ha 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 ha's everywhere. I'm like, I don't think they'd fly away laughing. Like, what's Sinestro care if he's got a black spot on his record?
Well, I guess that was the joke. Like, they both just fly off like, we don't give a shit about the record or the pardons. We can fucking leave at any time, and that's what he does. So I thought it was great. Action-packed issue. Tons of great villain parts. My pick of the week.
Really? I can see that. It was a very good issue. Next up is Harley Quinn number 6. This is written by Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti, with art by Chad Hardin and Amanda Connor. This made me laugh so much. Good for that old man. And all his old villains.
So if you remember, they're trying to kill all his old nemesis and villains. And
all the Russians that he used to fight.
At first we thought he was just a senile old man, then they're just going around killing people, which is kind of hilarious, because some of those villains were just people, and they killed them. But then you see that they're actually pissed off and they're coming back, and there are some actual villains behind it. And his old love interest is there, and Harley Quinn the whole time is helping him kill all these people, and it's just off the walls crazy. It's a crazy, insane book, and that's kind of what you want, and that's what Jimmy Palmiotti has been telling us the whole time. Like, people's heads are flying off, and it's funny, it's dark humor, it's Looney Tunes humor, and it's all in there.
It was really good. I love some of the names, too. Like, I had to go back and reread some of them. His love interest is named Zinna Bindamover.
Yeah.
And I was like, good for her. He got some tongue action in there. I was proud of him for being an old man.
Right.
And then he stabbed her through the heart with a rhinoceros.
Because fuck her, I guess.
She was going to kill him.
She was. And at the very end, one of my favorite issues thus far, aside from number 0, was the Harley and Ivy issue. I think it was number 3 or 2. And you see that return at the very end of this, setting up the next arc. So when I do tell like people, customers, when they're trying to get into Harley Quinn, well, I missed out on number 0, or I missed out on number 1, it doesn't matter. Pick up whatever issue you want, and I say that for all the issues too. Like, if you're in need of comics and you want to get back into them, find your favorite superhero, go to the new release wall, pick up a book and buy it. Just jump right in. It doesn't matter if it's a jumping on point, it doesn't matter if it's not a number 1, because if you like the character, a lot of these issues do a great job of catching you up right away. Even if they don't, you're seeing your superhero in a comic book kicking ass. So for Harley Quinn, makes it even easier because every single issue stands on its own. It catches you up on what's going on, and it's its own self-contained story and adventure. That's what Harley Quinn is. Next we have Justice League number 30, a Forever Evil tie-in, and also it should be read after Forever Evil. It's written by Jeff Johns with art by Ivan Reis and Joe Prado.
This comic is pretty much what happens right after the events of Forever Evil. This is how everybody, what they've done with themselves, how they're picking themselves back up, and kind of starting over.
Exactly, with Luthor wanting to join the Justice League. Basically, the Justice League's image in the eyes of everyone in the world is very negative because they blame the Justice League for everything that happened with the crime syndicate, and they praise Luthor for saving the world, essentially, which he did. And he's saying, look, I'm offering to come with you guys and be a part of the Justice League so that you can be in everyone's graces again. And they said, we don't give a shit about what anyone views us as because we're just there to protect the world. That's our main job. We're not a political party. But Luthor still offers his services, and they deny him. They're like, we're not going to have you here. Your motives are insane. I'm sure there's something you're planning on, even with the lasso of truth on him. And he's still honest with them. Like, he says, I only want to do this because it's a boost to my ego. Mm-hmm. That's it. They still don't let him on.
I like his peace offering was, look, guys, I made you a new satellite.
Yeah. So
like,
Bruce didn't have to buy this.
Really? Really? It's like when you come to kindergarten, you're like, my mom made us cookies today.
Be my friend. But I'd be Lex Luthor's friend.
Oh, no, you would.
I like him.
I thought this was a good issue, though. They've been alluding to it for a while, so I think Luthor will join the Justice League, and he's going to do a great job. We get to see the beginnings of Grayson also.
Right.
Where Batman's like, you need to get the fuck out of town, man.
Do this because Grayson's like, I'm not going to hide Batman. And Batman's like, no, I'm not asking you to hide. I'm asking you to do something really dangerous. I'm like, you're lying to him.
Very important mission.
Just for you, Grayson. No one else can do this. I'm like, you're fucking lying to him, Batman. This is the equivalent of telling like some kid, like, now you have a very important job. You get to hold a receipt.
Oh man, I do that all the fucking time when they're crying and I'm like, I just want this fucking kid to shut up. Here, Tommy, why don't you hold the receipt? Now you gotta be quiet or they won't give you your food. And you can see the parents are like, oh, thank God. Because they've been listening to that all day.
So that's what he did for Dick Grayson. Mm-hmm. And then at the very end of the book, you do see our new Power Ring. Because if you remember, Power Ring was defeated by Sinestro. The ring flies off, finds another host. And we have that host who will be trained, I guess, by Simon Baz.
I really liked the way they set her up, too. Like, they make her out to seem super paranoid.
She's a coward.
Yeah.
Just like Power Ring was.
But they did a good job of showing us that with the interaction where her sister is trying to get her to come out, saying, you planned for this. You had all that food and water stored up for months and we should have believed you because you thought something like this was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I hear those people now, I'm like, they're kind of nut jobs.
Yeah. So it's a great tie-in. I think if you read Forever Evil, you should pick up Justice League number 30 as well. If anything, just to see what the Justice League is shaping into.
Next is Justice League of America number 14. Again, a Forever Evil tie-in, which needs to be read after the regular Forever Evil. This one's written by Matt Kent with art by Eddie Barrows and Eber Ferreira. This is, again, a what happens after. So we see that the world pretty much blames Justice League of America for everything. They don't like the Justice League, but they think Justice League of America is responsible for all of this. So we start out with Stargirl is in a room talking to Trevor, and trying to get all this. It looks like he's interrogating her at first, but then you find out she's the one actually interrogating him, trying to find out everything that he knows about where everybody is.
And I think this is the last time that Matt Kent writes the Justice League of America, because the Justice League United is a brand new writer, same writer as Animal Man. And for this one, he continues to explore that relationship between Martian Manhunter and Stargirl.
I think there's going to be a love story eventually.
I hope there is. Any love story with Martian Manhunter is interesting. If it's Stargirl, if it's Catwoman, either one. But I don't know if the new writer is actually going to continue that, or if it's just like a setup for their friendship. I'm not sure, but for this one, it's him destroying people and destroying places and buildings to try to get the Stargirl to find out where she is, to the point where he confronts Amanda Waller and is like, where is she? I'm only asking you as a courtesy because I can just pry that information out of your mind. Mm-hmm. And I thought what was funny is the whole time Martian Manhunter is complimenting himself, like, this would have taken me no time, and blah, blah, blah. You're all just doing worthless shit because none of that is stopping me. I'm like, why is he talking to himself and like complimenting himself by making them more scared?
This is because he's awesome like that. I did like what happened with Catwoman. I thought that was great. She supposedly went back to a life of crime. I think she was just trying to be with Batman.
Oh, that was interesting too. And Forever Evil, I wanted to talk about that. When Batman was able to communicate with Wonder Woman, because you can only communicate with someone that you share, some love or a connection with. And when he connects with Diana inside of Firestorm, when Catwoman kind of looks at him and he says, well, it's because I've known her for a long time. And she says, really? Is that why? So I think there might be some seeds planted there.
There's not going to be anything there.
Of something between Batman and Wonder Woman, and that might cause a rift between the three of them, because right now Superman and Wonder Woman are, I guess, a thing, even though Superman loves Batman. Mm-hmm. But now it's attention being drawn away. That makes sense
now. He's trying to pull Diana away from Batman so that he can have Batman to himself. Makes sense.
But instead, Batman is still drifting towards Diana, so now Superman's going to be really upset.
No, Batman's with Catwoman.
Well, you did notice. Superman doesn't know this.
Okay, so back to Justice League United. What happens to Catwoman? She gets the ability to kind of rewrite who she is, almost.
Yeah.
And so she goes in and she changes her file. Did you notice where she listed herself? The
Where?
Batcave in Gotham.
Wow.
So that's where she's living now. Living with Batman, that's what I'm going to say.
For Justice League of America number 14, though, I think if you already picked up United, you didn't need this, really.
I really liked it, though. I liked seeing the desperation that John was going through to try and find Stargirl. Mm-hmm. It wasn't... When we were first introduced to him, he had been through so much, losing his entire planet, that he seemed very closed off and like he didn't need somebody. And for me, it was really cool to see him be like, I have to find her. I have to... he just wanted to know she was safe, because he couldn't feel her in his mind anymore.
Right. Not my pass of the week, but again, that's just, I felt like I didn't really get that much information out of this one. The next one, however, is my pass of the week.
Mine too!
A New 52 Futures End number 3, a weekly title, written by Jeff Lemire, Brian Azzarello, Dan Jurgens, and Keith Giffen, with art by Mark Irwin, Dan Jurgens, and Ryan Sook.
Took 4 people to make it our pass of the week. There was so much going on in here.
It was mainly Firestorm, too, so I was like, and Grifter. Why do I give a shit about these characters? Like, make me care about them, and so far you're not doing that.
Not at all.
You're giving me a little bit of Batman Beyond. Like, now I'm upset about this, because it's a weekly book that we're paying for.
Well, just wait until Batman shows up again, and then we'll
And that's the thing, they keep giving us a little bit of Batman Beyond, so I'm like, fuck, well, alright, well, I'm staying on it for at least another week, and... But, I mean, they gotta ramp it up quick, because it's a weekly book, it's $2.99, and it's not really, you're not showing me anything that we're all interested in. I don't think. Like, are you really interested in Grifter?
No. And Firestorm's just being an ass now.
He's being a baby.
He's like, I'm going to keep you inside of me for weeks and put up this sunbeam for these ladies and sleep with them as Firestorm. I don't think you can do that, sir, but okay.
And meanwhile, Batman Beyond is getting caught on camera. It's like, great, good job. You were supposed to be like an unknown, and Bruce should have never known about you, but obviously he's going to find out sooner or later.
He probably already knows.
His very first mission, like, already caught, like, on camera, multiple times. Way to go. Bruce, you should have trained them better. Your own fault.
But I agree, this is my pass of the week as well. If this was all Batman Beyond, awesome, I'd probably love it. But they're not giving me enough. They're giving me people I don't really care about.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we have Sinestro number 2. This is written by Cullen Bunn, with art by Dale Eaglesham.
I actually really liked Sinestro number 2.
I thought it was pretty good too.
Great story. We're seeing what he wants to do with his people that he's rescuing. If you remember, there are other Corrigans, Corrigorians, or I don't know how you really pronounce them.
Corrigarians?
But basically Sinestro's race. They're scattered throughout the universe. He thought they were all gone because his planet was destroyed in Green Lantern. But it's there, and he's actually building a new Corrigar. And he's doing that by eradicating a moon of what it used to be, which it used to carry a bunch of prisoners, and they're just killing everyone. He and the Sinestro Corps, after he took control of it. I thought it was very Sinestro. Like, all of this fit with Sinestro. Mm-hmm. He was arrogant, but he was powerful, and he was also like a little bit understanding and wanted and really did care about the Corps, but not in a way with like, let's just eliminate everyone and just have the Sinestro Corps. He's like, no, we're not gonna fucking make war with Green Lanterns, and if you have a problem with that, I will fucking kill you.
Right. I like that he said their reasoning was to bring order to everything, not just to act on revenge. I love the interaction with him and his daughter, too. I thought that was really sweet and cool to see her character that way, because you always think of Green Lanterns as goody-goodies, and you realize you're not going to get that from her.
Especially, being Sinestro's daughter.
Mm-hmm. Hans and Franz, though, man, they're going to cause some problems.
Probably. If it wasn't for Forever Evil, this actually would have been my pick of the week. Sinestro number 2.
I know it. You and your Sinestro boyfriend.
Love Sinestro. You did say it's the last book of this week. It is our last comic book, as far as like something you can pick up every month. The last book is a trade, actually, a hardcover. It's Black Canary and Zatanna Bloodspell. This has been in the works for years by Paul Dini, but him and the artist Joe Quinones have kind of been going back and forth trying to finish this, and it's finally out. I think he'd been writing this since before the New 52 even.
Oh, wow.
So that's why it's like this out-of-continuity story. Really, they could have released it at any time, and it works. You didn't have a chance to read it. I read it, and it was really good. It was Paul Dini, so I'm always going to be biased because I understand like his writing style and what kind of adventures he puts his characters in. And it's kind of like a magical Harley and Ivy, a little bit. But you can tell he loves Zatanna. Gives her a little bit of an origin with her training. Shows how her and Black Canary interacted in their early years. And throughout it, it's kind of like a mystery story in which one of the villains for Black Canary ends up killing herself. But before she did, she created a pact between herself, Black Canary, and other people, other robbers. And in doing this blood pact, after she died, she's actually able to jump into each one of their bodies and cause them to kill themselves. But can't really jump into Black Canary yet until she knocks out some of these people to become stronger. And when she finds out about this with the help of Zatanna, they're trying to find all the bodies that she could possess that were a part of the blood pact and stop her before any of this happens. Paul Dini style, it's funny, it's hilarious. Of course, there's going to be some like skimpy girl at some point because it's Paul Dini. Some guys like whistleblowing at them and them getting their comeuppance. It's all in there. It's Paul Dini all the way.
Paul Dini just loves his half-naked women.
And I loved it. Like, it was a great issue, or a great hardcover. It is $22.99. I would say pick it up if you love Paul Dini, if you're into Harley Quinn or Poison Ivy. Otherwise, wait for the soft cover, which is going to be a little bit cheaper, and even then, I'd still recommend it.
And that's going to do it for us this week. Just to reiterate, my pick of the week was Saga number 19.
And mine was Forever Evil number 7.
And both of our passes was New 52 Futures End number 3, the weekly book.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke. Let us know what made you broke this week. Hashtag Reasons I'm Broke.
You guys can also listen to us through iTunes. Just search The Reasons I'm Broke. If you listen to us through there, please leave a rating, a comment, or review. It helps other people find us.
Subscribe on YouTube. We put up some unboxings, but also the podcast. If you don't have an iDevice or iTunes or any of that, you can find us on YouTube as well. Just stream us there. That's where we put up the podcast.
And we are also on Stitcher. You can download the app either through your iDevice or your Android phone.
But to find a link to all of these, just head on over to nerdupmedia.com, click on The Reasons I'm Broke, and all of the links will be there. Very easy, including our Facebook one, which is facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
We'll see you next week.